All right, a big welcome to Alex Nichiporchik.
You got it right.
Yeah, I got it right. I practiced a little bit.
We had to do a practice round on my weird
on
surname.
Your surname, yeah. Welcome, because you're from TinyBuild.
I am from
And you
TinyBuild.
traveled all the way from Hilversum to here?
It was a long trip. I had to walk for days.
Oh,
I had
really?
to scavenge food. I had to craft myself a little tent on the way.
It is real indie.
Yeah, you gotta
Any
do
way
it.
of getting here. Minecraft prepared you maybe for this epic journey. But you made it, and I'm very happy for that, because for I think the last, what is it now, 3 or 4 years, I've been seeing you guys.
Well, yeah, we have started almost exactly 4 years ago. That's when our Kickstarter happened for No Time to Explain.
Yeah, and the game has been released like a year ago?
Well, it depends on what you count as release, because we released the game like 3 times now.
Okay.
There was the original Flash prototype,
Yeah.
which is how TinyBuild started. I found it on Newgrounds. Then there was the contained launch outside of Steam, which is which we actually did twice. So we split the game into 2 episodes. There was episode 1 and episode 2. And then there was a Steam launch. And then there was the Xbox launch and the relaunch on Steam. So technically, what,
You
5
did
launches?
a whole lot of launches, man. That must have been stressful as well.
Oh, if you look back at the pictures of me, like through the years, it's like more hair, more hair, more hair. Now it's less.
Yeah, and probably also more, like, what's it called actually?
Yeah, wrinkles, a little bit
and,
of that. But I use cream, I got really good cream.
Yeah, you
for
look
that.
quite young. We were just debating about your age as well, and it's a mystery, right?
It is an industry mystery.
And what is your role within TinyBuild? And
so I am the CEO. So I do all of the businessy talks.
Okay.
But I also do a lot of game production work. So I'm the producer on several of our titles.
Okay, cool. And you guys are actually an indie publisher, right? Or you develop games, but you also publish.
We are an indie developer at our core, but we kind of organically morphed into publishing.
Okay.
And the story there was just like we went to PAX Prime for the Speedrunners launch in 2013.
Cool.
We're hanging around there, and we're actually just walking with like a laptop strapped to our necks the first day, because we had the booth for one of the days of the show, but the other days of the show we had to be like homeless.
Oh, really?
We're just walking around with Speedrunners on our laptop like that, and then
just
crowds.
showing it to people.
Just have 4 controllers duct taped there.
Cool.
People pick it up, they start playing. We're doing lots of YouTuber interviews, and then crowds start forming around our booth, our man booth.
Your mobile man booth.
Yeah, and by the end of the show, some articles started going up saying that these guys that made No Time to Explain, they're now not really developing their second game, they're like publishing their second game. Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, indie publishers, sure. And then my inbox explodes because people saw how Speedrunners took off at PAX, and after that, and we morphed into publishing.
Wow. That's pretty cool. And Speedrunners is it an official esport, or it's moving into esport space, right? Or?
Yes. So the question is, what do you count as an official esport? Because we are now listed as ESL. On the main ESL website, we're like one of the little games over there. And just yesterday, we had our first kickoff cup at ESL. We did a preparation cup in the summer, then tweaked some stuff in the game, and are now having official cups with prizes.
Wow, cool. And it's pretty interesting, because an indie publisher seems kind of like
it seems like redundant, right?
Yeah.
Like you're indie, why would you need one, right? But what happened with the industry is that with tools like Unity and Unreal, anyone can make games.
Yeah.
Everyone is making games. Yeah. You have stuff like Greenlight to get on Steam.
Yep.
Then you have open platforms like iOS and Android.
Yep.
And then everyone is making games. So what do you do when everyone's making games? You can either, spend 4 years like locked in a basement somewhere making your handcrafted game. But then you realize that odds are stacked against it getting any traction. Which is the unfortunate reality. It used to be that you just release a game on Steam. That's it. That's all you had to do.
Because you had your release, so immediately everyone would see, hey, a new release on Steam. But now we have, I think it's 8 releases a week or something, or a day?
A day,
8 releases a day,
at least. And what we did with No Time to Explain is we were greenlit, I think, in the second batch, so before Steam got saturated. And over there, as soon as we appeared in the new list, that's it. Like, my inbox explodes, press requests. And it was just all about giving away keys.
Cool.
Now, it's the other way around. Now it's like hunting for anyone to give a crap about your release. I think that's why you see this, the wave of indie publishers spawning, because you have like a developer with a successful title. They build a little bit of a following for themselves, for their brand.
Yeah.
And then journalists, YouTubers, Twitch streamers will give more of a damn from anything coming from that person, because you know that person in the face, and then putting anything like our brand as a stamp of legitimacy on anything, that helps the game.
Yeah.
And then we also really like to help developers focus, because you know how...
That's your production side.
Well,
that you kind of manage a project as well. Cool.
Yeah, so we don't take on any projects where we can't really add any value.
Okay.
Because, well, otherwise we're just taking a cut for putting our name on. That's not much fun.
Yeah.
We often just get involved in development in a way that helps developers focus. Okay. Because in an ideal world, you would spend, 3 years making a game, right?
Yeah.
But what's going to happen next year? I don't really know. What's going to happen in 2017?
Yeah, most people don't have a long-term game plan.
And that's why I think it's really important for anything that you're working on. You need to have an idea of where the market is going to be by the time you release it, or have a relatively short development cycle.
Yeah.
That's kind of the the intricacies of indie publishing.
So do you have that for TinyBuild, or do you help people develop that per project for themselves?
Both, really. So right now we don't have anything internal in development full force. We have lots of prototypes here and there.
Yeah.
But our studio is focused on helping Double Dutch with speedrunners.
Okay, cool.
And we're also building up a second pillar, which is taking games from PC to consoles.
Yeah.
Which most people think that's, you have the compile button in Unity that says, PS4, that's it, done. So that's what we thought when we were developing No Time to Explain in Unity. We thought, okay, well, the game is done.
It can export, so...
it will just compile. You see it runs on the dev kit. What can happen? So between the moment when we realized it runs on the dev kit and actually releasing it, that was about 7-8 months.
Wow.
Because we're like, how do we handle controller management? Okay,
example,
so we open up the Xbox Bible, go like, okay, TCR number this. So we gotta rewrite that. How do we handle progress saved between multiple local players?
Stuff like that.
Throw that out, rewrite that.
Crazy. Because that's what I think a publisher can add as well, is kind of experience with these kind of things, like porting projects, or I don't know, there's a lot of also consumers who are right now thinking, making games is so easy. So, for example, I own an Android device and my friend owns an iOS device. Why can he get, I don't know, one of your titles, maybe Divide by Sheep? Is it Android and iOS already?
Yeah, it's both.
Was it day one, or was it?
It took a little bit of time, mainly because of the differences in devices.
There you go.
Well, that's still relatively
Stuff like
easy.
that, but
it like Divide by Sheep, it's a Flash game, right? So Flash with Air, it can compile to pretty much anything. Yeah. And we build the UI to scale depending on device aspect ratio from the get-go. So that game was absolutely no problem.
Pretty easy.
But the real difficulty with consoles is when you have your game done, then opening all of the technical requirements in the console, and then realizing that you have to rewrite half of it.
Yeah.
Or that you will submit, then get rejected the first time, then submit and then get rejected the second time.
Because Sony and Microsoft are pretty strict on like loading times and controller latency.
There's a lot of things there. Like it's all under NDA, so you can't really fully publicly talk about. But there is stuff that you do not think about when you're developing games. So what we're doing now is making it so that the developers that we work with, they can just focus on the creative part of the game. And when it's feature complete, we just take the source and make it work on consoles, so that the developer doesn't even need to touch it.
That's pretty cool. And you guys are also publishing Check and Knockout, I believe. Any news on a release or whatever?
Well, and that's exactly the situations that I just mentioned, right?
Really?
The game is complete. It's feature complete. It's awesome. It plays really well. But then when it comes to getting a Game Maker game onto the consoles, that's where we hit a little bit of a bottleneck because of all of these technical requirements. And now we're working, like plowing through that. But again, in the example of Check and Knockout, if we had finished it like a year ago, hypothetically, if it was ready a year ago, we could still release it on Steam and it would still make money on Steam. If we release today on Steam, it won't make any money. Because it's a local multiplayer game. and those are now way oversaturated on Steam.
Yeah. So what are you guys going to do?
We're going to release it on consoles alongside Steam.
Okay.
And then Steam is like the supporting platform for people that do want it, but the target platform will be a console, either PS4 or Xbox One.
Cool. I think it's a really good console game. Like, I wouldn't want to play it on a PC. I would just want to play it on console. I'm really happy with that. And I'm wondering, because this problem we mentioned, or actually we described it now, is that the market is very saturated. And you guys can help some developers here and there, but how do you see this going forward? Like, what are the challenges for the new products you guys are either publishing or going to develop yourself moving forward?
I think the main challenge is finding something that, well, one, we add value to, and something that really stands out.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote this guide about how to pitch games. Originally, I was writing it for how to pitch games to publishers, but really it applies to anything.
Yeah.
So if you can condense your game into a 5-second GIF, and have that GIF just stand out, then you're on the right track.
Okay.
If you can make the game easy enough to pick up for a Twitch streamer, a YouTuber, or anyone who has like a massive following, but is not necessarily like really deep into the game, not a critic, but just there for entertainment, then your game becomes entertaining to watch. And that's kind of the stuff that we're focusing on, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult.
Because I read that Party Hard, one of the titles you guys are also working on, is having Twitch integration?
Yep. Party Hard is a prime example where we had to like have an absolutely crazy development cycle just to fit a deadline because of, well, first and foremost, we knew that the Twitch integration that you mentioned, that no one was doing it properly, so we knew there was a chance there, and we had to release it before September, because from September until December, it's a bad idea to release a game.
Yeah, like big titles.
Yeah, even though like you can have like the best game ever, odds are that on launch day, the whole media will be so buzzing about something else, about like, you know, how 1,000 units in Fallout 4 fight each other.
For example,
you know, they just won't care about your game. So it was Party Hard. We signed it in February here in Amsterdam at Indie Prize. And the game had about 18 months worth of work. It had a game design document, it had everything proper. So we're like, okay, let's just, you know, roll with it, see where the concept goes. It was loved by YouTubers and whatnot. Then a month after that, we are at PAX East in Boston, where we do a premiere of the game. So we showcased at our booth. We have 2 stations with like monitors sitting up top, and then we realized that a crowd starts forming. And we really didn't get why, because we know that speedrunners always has a crowd that's cheering, and that's a competitive game for 4 players. Here, people are just walking by, going, "Oh hey, what's that?" And then another guy stops. "Oh, hey, what's that?" And then they start talking to each other and explaining the game to each other.
That's pretty
and that's
cool.
how I get the pitch. Everyone started explaining and resonating with the idea of like, hey, have you ever had a loud neighbor? Well, this is a game. You stab your loud neighbor's party. And people love that. Then we had a show slot scheduled at the Twitch stage, where I got Jesse Cox to play it. And then a huge crowd formed around the stage. And then I'm hearing in the microphone during the broadcast that the chat is going wild. So the producer from Twitch is going like, okay, this is really,
we
really
see possibilities
insane.
here,
Yeah, so that's kind of when we realized that we should, 1, throw the game design document out the window. 2, release the game this year, and 3, focus on the game being like fun, crowd-pleasing, with all of these funny moments. Because in the demos that we had, there were all of these like deep game design tricks that you could do Hitman-style traps, like this will activate that. And then we realized that no one was using it. Everyone was using just like the basic stuff. Like, oh hey, poison the punch and everyone dies. Or make this explode.
But I think that's a big change in thought that game designers will have. We talked about it here in indiegames recently as well, is that you like designing for to have a game that is appealing to look at and to talk about is something way different than designing a game that is really interesting to play yourself with strategic depth and interesting player choice, etc., etc. I think it's going to be really hard for people to adjust. So if you guys have experience on this, I think you guys can be a little bit ahead of what most designers need to learn.
I think the best example here that I can name is speedrunners, because the game at its core has remained the same for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
It released in that form was local multiplayer only on Xbox Live indie games. Same gameplay, just the way to get to appreciating that gameplay was more rough.
Yeah.
Like the visuals weren't there, there was a couple of usability issues, and it didn't have online multiplayer.
Okay.
But what we released in Steam Early Access and the stuff that really took off there was fundamentally the same. It just looked better, it had a better ease in, and we were able to build community around that.
Yeah.
And that's why the game took off. So I think that's one of the examples where you really have to think about how to make your game fun. Because with speedrunners specifically, the fun part is not how the game looks. The fun part is people's reactions playing it. So as soon as YouTube videos started appearing, then you saw people having fun.
Yeah, so you basically your player is like an actor on a stage. Twitch is the stage, and you need to give him the right tools to perform well.
Yeah,
basically.
at that point that was YouTube.
Yeah.
But on the point of Twitch, what we did in Party Hard is you have the option to enable a Twitch integration. You get like generated a key and whatnot that allows the game to access your chat.
Yeah.
And then the people watching the player broadcasting can influence what happens in the game.
Okay, cool.
And as a game designer, you would think that, okay, it will not be fun if people start messing with the player, right? That it will just break the game, that they, you almost killed everyone in the party and then 40 more people arrived. You would think that would break it. No, that just enhanced it and that made it really funny.
Cool.
Because people started voting for the most obnoxious.
It's a spectacle, of course, you're presenting. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking about now, actually, now I hear your stories, is that you guys are really good at adjusting as well. Is that you guys see something, you recognize the quality, and you adjust your game plan literally by throwing out a game design document, and you expand on your success.
So yeah, TinyBuild, we throw out your game design documents. No, but seriously, so the other option that we would have there is to continue going with a serious note in Party Hard. And we could have gone with that, but the developer was smart enough to see that people were not enjoying or getting to that deeper part.
Yeah.
So instead, we just rushed to release the game in August. And we didn't even follow the mantra of, you have to have a press release, you have to send out codes 3 weeks ahead to the press, you have to have review. We ignored the press with that release.
Oh, really?
We didn't send out codes to the press until launch day.
Wow.
Well, mostly because the game wasn't ready 4 hours before launch. That's when we had the gold master, and then we had to update the game on launch day like 3 times. Yeah, that's how we release games. That's a really good pitch.
That sounds really like a stress situation.
What we did is we had a launch party at PAX the day before. We invited all of the streamers that were on the media list of PAX Prime.
Oh, wow.
We had a large party, and then we thought that it was just a bunch of random people that came there, right? You don't really recognize many Twitch streamers. But then it turned out that every single streamer that mattered at PAX was at our party, did check out the game.
Nice.
And they were bringing people to our booths, all of the other streamers, all event long, just to check out this game. Because the Twitch integration there, that was a hook. That's what got all of the streamers in. And then on launch day, we had people, with like 30,000 people live watching.
Nice.
That was really good.
Yeah, because for them it's probably a nice opportunity as well. Like a game that helps them, make great content is of course to them really valuable as well.
And I just remember on the launch day, we're sitting at this networking party, after PAX was like Sony and PlayStation. We just have our laptop up with people streaming it live, and we're just giving away codes in the chat to everyone.
Nice.
And the streamers really appreciate that, and they really liked us for it.
Yeah, nice. And why do you guys operate from Holland? Like you're originally from Latvia, I think?
Yeah, I'm originally from Latvia. I moved here 6 years ago to work at Spill Games. I quit Spill Games a couple of years ago to start TinyBuild. Yeah. And our operation is kind of strange because we're incorporated in Seattle, Washington. That's where our main office is. That's where my partner Luke basically operates our business from his bedroom. Okay. In his garage, which is like a 2-car garage, there are giant crates filled with scrap that we ship to conventions everywhere in the US. Then in Manchester, we have Mike Rose, who's our PR guy, and he just lives in Manchester. And here in the Netherlands, we have, our development partners, Double Fish Games, and our own studio. I'm not sure if that's the most efficient way logistically,
Well,
but it just
actually,
happens.
yeah, it just sounds like you're everywhere at some time. So it must have its conveniences as well. Or?
I think it really helps me because I work with a lot of Europe-based developers and developers in Russia. It helps to have Luke in the US because he can manage all of our relationships there and all of our conference logistics, all of that. And then Mike is in the UK and he has a really good opportunity to just meet with local media there.
Yeah. And do you think that having a company that's so spread out takes more energy, or is there any benefit like to being in Holland as well? Like, for example, we always talk about Flambeer because of their success. We always talk about Gorilla, which is a little bit bigger. Ronimo, you know, we have some parties, and I've been hearing about you guys as well. Do you think there's a good climate in Holland for game development, or would you say it needs improvement? If so, how would we do that?
I think if we're talking about indie game developers, Holland is the worst place you can be at, because everyone is trying to make games.
Yeah.
And that is causing, you know, because we have so many graduates from universities, that's causing a great climate for hiring. But if you talk about the fact that everyone wants to make video games, and there's not enough jobs, not many people will go full indie, not many people will be able to get the experience they need to start their own studio. So I feel like it's a little bit of a give and take. I really hope that the universities sort this out quite soon. But I feel like the logic there was that, you know, you have these large companies that keep on hiring, like Gorilla,
Spill.
like
amongst
Spill,
others who just fired like 200 people last year, but
yeah, so there you go, exactly what I'm saying. So everyone was hoping that the industry would keep on growing, but it's actually contracted. So I feel like a lot of students are now going to feel like they're held hostage because of the situation.
Maybe,
when they graduate and they can't get a job because they don't have the experience. But how can I get the experience because I don't have a job yet?
Yeah.
So my advice here as a proud college dropout is just start working. I'm not saying drop out of college. I'm saying just start working on any kind of side project so you have a resume. Because whenever I hire people, I don't even look at the education. I just look at what you've done.
But I think that's for any industry. I think if you're, you know, you want to be in marketing or PR, it's the same thing. If you have no experience but just a diploma, you're way less worth than if you have, you know, already been involved in various companies and campaigns, etc. But it's very good advice. But what do we need to stop contracting and start expanding again in the Netherlands?
I think a major issue of hiring in the Netherlands is the obligations of you as an employer. And this is something that, unfortunately, due to its severity, it's a major problem. So if I start a company in a garage here, I will get fined, right? If I try to pay full taxes, then for every euro that I make, I'm actually paying another euro on top in social benefits and income taxes and whatnot.
It's really high.
That's why most people will go as freelancers, which is fine. But then again, the government is shutting that down. It's going to become more difficult to be a freelancer. So let's just think about this. We are, you know, graduating college. We have a little bit of, I don't know, personal savings or whatnot. If we really want to go full-time there, it's very costly.
Yeah, it is.
Very costly.
Yeah, well, actually, if you go all in on a project, then you will just make a financial ruin of yourself if all goes wrong. You know, if your game doesn't sell and you maybe won't get hired, etc., etc.
So I think an easy way to fix this would be some sort of relief tax climate for these kind of companies. Like I know countries in the European Union that have concepts of micro companies. And it's something similar to, like, if your company has under 100,000 euros a year turnover, then you just pay a flat 7 or something % from that 100,000 up to 100,000, and then everything is relieved. You don't get social benefits, so you don't accumulate pension, but as a startup, you don't need that. So you can actually, you can build a product and then force on growing it and then mature as a company and pay full taxes.
So
here, starting a company is quite difficult.
yeah. So do you think TinyBuild would have been bigger or different if you would have started in the US, for example, of maybe?
So we originally,
UK?
legally started in the US,
Yeah.
and because of that, we're able to
That's why
move
you
much,
have
much
been-
faster.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
one of the other major benefits. Being a US company, we just, I can call up my credit card and say, hey, I need to have a credit increase to $70,000
Yeah.
because we want to pay for packs with a
Yeah.
credit card. They just go like, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Here, if I want that, it
No,
will
it's
take
not
4
possible.
weeks
yeah, yeah.
of
and a whole lot of conversations, etc.
Yep. Another example of we do all of our print materials in the US.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of thousand cards come in with like not rounded edges.
Yeah.
Right. So we
They're
like
a little
rounded
bit more
edges.
expensive than.
Yeah. So we paid for that, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. But no, my partner Luke,
Yeah.
he goes like, okay, I'm just gonna call them.
Yeah.
And they did for free expedited overnight a new package
Oh wow.
because of that error. That's
That's
customer
pretty cool.
service.
Yeah. We don't have that in Holland.
No. Whenever I have to organize Gamescom and deal with European suppliers and manufacturers,
Yeah.
it's quite difficult.
Yeah. Because of these kind of issues.
Yeah.
So actually, you're a successful company founded abroad, but your development team is based here.
Yeah, but we have everyone freelancers
Yeah.
as freelancers,
Oh, okay,
right? So they
cool.
can, they are able to afford that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what's going to happen if we keep on doing that.
What do you think that the industry would need? Like, let's sketch an ideal situation. We see the development of Twitch. We see the development of a saturated marketplace. What other developments are there that we can kind of, take into account when we have our future vision of the industry within like 5 years? Like, where do we need to go?
Well, 5 years is a very, very long time.
Especially for the game industry. Let's take 2 years.
I think within 2 years, what you're seeing already today, and that will solidify itself, is that YouTube as a marketing channel is maturing.
Yeah.
So the major companies that are fueling budgets in there and getting any kind of coverage there is
Yeah.
not as easy. Then the effects of that are becoming smaller. So whenever PewDiePie plays one of our videos, the effects of that compared with years ago are next to nothing.
Yeah.
Live streaming is taking off right now,
Yeah.
but then you have to think a little bit broader than that, because
You can't focus on one live streamer. Well, you could, but
Well, I don't think you should focus on live streaming in general,
Okay.
because that's what's happening today.
Yeah.
If we're talking about
Oh,
2
yeah.
years from now, you gotta take a step back here
Yeah.
and think about what's happening.
Yeah.
And what's happening is it's 2016, 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That means that people born in early 2000s will soon start earning money,
yeah.
or become more financially independent, or
Yeah.
have different interests. So what are they doing? They're growing up with smartphones. They're growing up connected. Their
Yeah.
attention span is shrinking.
Yeah.
All of this is evident in the rise of YouTubers and how they perform and entertain. So you have to think within that scope, what's
Yeah.
going to happen there?
This is really interesting, actually, this train of thought you're taking me on.
Well,
Move on.
so now I see these small live streaming apps that are in your phone
Yeah.
taking off.
Yeah.
I see Vine becoming really popular with a completely different audience that
Yeah.
you would never think to target. Snapchat,
Snapchat,
all
just
of
one
that
mentioned,
is
yeah.
taking off. So you really have to think, what is going to be the next big thing in that space?
How do they want to communicate or play games or
Exactly. And how can you use that within your
Yeah.
product, whichever platform that is? If you can figure that next thing
Yeah.
out, then you're going to have a successful game launch.
Do you have an idea?
We've been doing a lot with Vine, and I saw that taking off.
Nice.
Like I saw that small, short, 6-second videos on
Yeah.
a loop, they really have an effect. But the question is, how can we're discussing a couple of games where we had these discussions on where they're going to take off.
Yeah.
How can you create something that enables creation and sharing at the
Yeah.
same time in an easy interface? You see this with physics-based games like Besieged,
Yeah.
right, where you just create stuff and then make a funny video out of that.
Really beautiful game as well, by the way.
Yep, yep. Really beautiful, really simple,
Yeah.
and deep enough to create all of these creations.
Yeah.
So how can you take that sharing and creation experience and
Make it
Make
a
it-
Vine or
or make it just accessible for anyone with any kind of device?
yeah.
The technology is there.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you do it?
Yeah. Ah. Yeah, cool. All right, are there any other things that you want to talk about or share, or maybe you have advice or questions to the viewers?
Well, I think my biggest advice here is, like I said in a couple of articles, is if you're developing an indie game, just have a plan A, like have a job, or just spend some time just working with other people. It's really insightful when you start to think about different industries where you can apply your skills.
Yeah.
Because often if you're doing a game development course or anything, you think that this is exactly what you like to do, and that might be the case. But if you try something completely different, it might inspire you to make a different game.
Definitely, yeah.
I really like the story of how Incredipede got developed in terms of its visual style.
Okay.
And that was just Colin Northway seeing this artwork made out of wood carving.
Yeah.
And that's where everything came and how that game looks.
Yeah.
And it's just taking inspiration from something
From
completely
outside
different.
of games and outside of, so broaden your life experience,
Yeah, broaden
basically.
your horizons life experience. Do some volunteering work.
Yeah.
Do something that is not strictly sitting and developing games.
Yeah.
And if you can make that a job that also supports you in something else, that's perfect.
My colleague Boris, who you've also met, advised everyone to take some drugs along as well with the broadening of the horizons.
Well, you know, on
that's your own
advising
responsibility.
drugs for people on a live, reputable show, that would be really bad.
I know, yeah, but he does it anyway. I don't know why. But I do think it's good to broaden your horizon. So that's very good advice. Yeah, I think for me personally, it was also really insightful. Like I've been listening to you all the time, and of course I've read some of your personal articles. I think if there are game developers out there, Gamma Sutra is where you can find
Gamma
them
Sutra
on
is
your
where
name.
all of my English stuff is.
Yeah, and I think it's really, yeah, it's so insightful because you were one of those people that broadened your horizons. Like you've worked at marketing agencies, and like I've worked at Spill Games as well at some time, so I know that's a whole different culture than the indie culture. So
well, it is, and if you're able to understand why certain people behave the way that they do in certain companies, then you can find ways to deal with them. Because if you're successful, you need to figure out how to deal with different people. Because it's easy to say, oh, well, these guys, they don't understand what I'm listening to. Well, how did you explain it? Maybe you don't understand the same words. Because when you're working with lots and lots of partners like we do, you really need to try to figure out why people are saying certain things.
You need to be able to get inside their skin and I think you have that. Like I've read in all your experience, etc. So I think for me personally, it's been really insightful. So I hope everyone checks it out and keeps following TinyBuild. I know I will because I think it's really interesting what you guys do. Are you guys looking for new projects that you want to publish or whatever? Can
we're
people send
always
you guys
looking.
mails?
So just send us an email. We have a contact form on tinybuild.com. There's also a long-ass guide that I wrote about how to pitch your games.
Yep.
Do you read that?
Read that first.
Yeah, just send us a GIF in the build. That's basically it.
I always say tweet as well to my students in classes. It's like if you can
definitely helps.
pitch your game in a tweet, then
yeah. If you can pitch your game in a tweet, some people don't want to pitch their game publicly and whatnot.
That's stupid.
I just say that send us a line.
Cool. All right, thanks for being here. I hope you can come back if there are interesting developments in the industry or you have some, I don't know, radical opinion. Please come back, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.